So there's one thing I really want to point out from this chapter that was just very subtle, standard Ishida, but it felt like there was a lot more meaning behind it, maybe setup or a possible future arc in the future. The overall Ardita scene in this chapter. When Arima comes in and he starts discussing Ardita, as we all know by now, if we have been seeing the Furies and all sorts of other stuff and the obvious, you know, Furies behind it, it's pretty obvious that Ardita, Toka, and Ayato's father is still alive and being harvested. He's being harvested for more Quinkes. And so, with this little dialogue in this chapter, with what Arima says about Ardita, I'm like, that's weird. Like, that was just out of the fucking blue. Like, it popped out of nowhere, and I'm like, Ishida wouldn't do something like that if it didn't mean something later on down the road. Like, I'm willing to bet that's going to have some massive setup way down the road. But, let's get on to the fact of what this chapter really does. So, this chapter of Tokyo Ghoul, Ayato and Kaneki are going to the auction. You know what this means? Come on. Do you not know what this means? We might get another reenactment of the 103 Bone scene. Or maybe Ayato will do that to Kaneki. I mean, it's a possibility. It really is a possibility, but regardless of that, what this chapter really does is hints at multiple things that we should expect in the future. Once again, more death flags, some badass like references to the previous Tokyo Ghoul, and getting to see the epic Saiko or Cookie-chan. Oh my god, she is adorable. Okay, so I want to get on to the death flag. In this chapter, there is a death flag, once again, yes, once again, placed upon Mutsuki. There is a death flag placed on him. And I'm like, dude, it's fucked up, man. It's really fucked up because we see in this where Torso, you know Torso, that he loved eating people that are scars and all that, and we know he was trying to eat Mutsuki a while back. Well, in this, we see that he's also going to be going to the auction to protect Madam. And I'm like, damn it. And when he's thinking about his, like, cravings, like he needs to fulfill himself, you see this panel where a girl's, like, laying sideways, and the hairstyle and the eye patch are very, very similar to Mutsuki. And I'm like, shit, that death flag. And what's even crazier about it is white hair. Solid white hair. Who do we know that has solid white hair in this series? So, here's the two ways this, or two directions this can go. Either Ashina's telling us that Mutsuki is gonna fucking die, like she's dead, or he's trying to tell us that maybe she might become another white-haired Kaneki? Might get tortured or something while she's at the auction? I mean, it might happen, we have no idea, but this auction is building up to be very, very nasty. In hype, but nasty. Like, oh god, like, the death I see coming, like, there's gonna be so much death, like, everybody's gonna fucking die, like, any of the fodder people are dead, like, let's just say, if you're fodder, like, Torso, oh, dude, you're dead, man, Torso, you're dead, you're fucked, you're dead, so, all the fodder is gonna walk into that auction, and that'll be the last time you see them, they're dead, because there's so many big names walking into that auction on both sides, CCG and the Ghoul side and Ogiri Tree, and then you have the clowns gonna be there. Yeah, it's gonna be ridiculous. But, here's the thing. With this, we have a little bit of a slight build-up to Urei. Now, Urei in this chapter, we find out a little bit of backstory on his personal motives and what drives him slightly, or might eventually drive him in the future. He supposedly wants to avenge his father. Like, he doesn't state that he doesn't want to avenge his father. He doesn't say he will or wants to, but it's kind of obvious he probably does want to avenge his father, and that's one of the main reasons that's probably driven him to actually become a ghoul, or like some form of a ghoul, and go underneath the surgery to get stronger. And Arima actually recognized him in this chapter. He's like, oh, Arima recognized me and all that, and he wants to continue to go through the treatment and surgery to increase his, you know, his level, and get stronger as a ghoul. So, at this moment, Urei, he is a standard human still. Like, he still has his sense of taste and smell, because in this chapter, when he was smelling, like, this food substance or whatever, he's like, the smell doesn't seem to be off. So, that clearly indicates that he is still human for the most part. He hasn't lost his sense of taste or smell when it comes to human food. So, he's not gone too far yet, but judging by how he wants to get stronger and continue going through surgeries, he's going to go down that path where he can't turn back. It's quite obvious. He's going to go down that path, and he might become another Kaneki. I mean, hey, or a Kaneki wannabe. That's a possibility. So, one thing I do want to say, Floppy. Floppy, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, what? Like, Floppy? Now, there was this person that was mentioned multiple times in this called Floppy. And I'm like, do we know anyone by Floppy? Like, do we know anyone by Floppy? I don't think we do. So, I was thinking, like, Eto says to finish off Floppy at the beginning of the chapter. And I'm like, finish? Like, what? And you have it to where Ayato, in his mind, as he's thinking, he's like, finish? You guys already done that. So I'm thinking, like, finish? You guys have already done that. So, I'm going to assume, I'm going to take a shot in the dark here. I'm shooting in the dark, and most likely I'm not going to hit nothing, but I'm taking a shot in the dark. I'm assuming Floppy is a ghoul. Okay, that's kind of obvious, it's a person. But I'm assuming Floppy either is a reference towards either Kaneki or Amon. One of those two. It's definitely one of those two. I'm willing to place my cards on Amon, because multiple chapters back we saw, you know, Amon on the roof and all that. It looked exactly like him. So, it's kind of obvious that Floppy might be Amon. So, we'll have to see with there. But, getting on to other factors of this chapter. Moving on. You have it to where Kaneki is giving training to his fellow Quinkies, and he's doing martial arts type shit. He's going back to that standard white-haired Kaneki we saw earlier on, around chapter 80 or 90, somewhere in those chapters. We get to see Kaneki badass and his fellow subordinates. I'm like, yo! You just see him kicking the shit out of them and all that. And you gotta love Cookie-chan. Cookie-chan in that fight. Like, she is laying on the floor. Like, soon as we see this little match, she's already in the floor. And she's like, her face is on the ground and all that. I'm like, what the fuck happened to her? And as the fight continues, we find out that she didn't even try to fight Kaneki at all. And the funny thing is that she's like, I'm dead. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? She's like, I'm dead. Like, Cookie-chan, man, she's my dude. She's becoming fucking best girl, man. I'm sorry to say, but dude, that freaking panel, these panels of Saiko are too much. Ashita knows who's best girl. Like, come on. Ashita has Saiko as his avatar picture on Twitter. I don't know if he still has it to this moment, but the last time I checked, he had Saiko as his avatar picture. That goes to show you how much he likes her. So, it's obvious. He really likes her character. Like, oh my god, her adorable nature, laying on the floor, so like, I'm dead. So, this chapter, man, it was a setup chapter, setup-orientated chapter, gets me hyped up for what is to come, cannot wait to see what's going to happen, so much death is coming. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all, please be safe, Chibi out.